Hi everyone, Kim here with Sunshine Creations and Crafts. I'm in my craft room this morning on this very hot, sunny Sunday in California. I mean, like too miserably hot to go outside. And I know the people in Arizona are probably laughing at me, but it's 102 here and I know it gets hotter for you guys. So anyway, I'm doing Thanksgiving series cards. This is number 2 and I'm using an image from the Silhouette Library. Now, I'm going to go to the library because I did download the image that I want to put on the card. But I have a question for you, all you Silhouette gurus. How do I get the image number once I've already put it, in my library? I don't see where you can find the image numbers. It just gives Thanksgiving word tags here. The only way I know how to do it, and this is totally getting sidetracked here, is to actually go back into the Silhouette Library and type in Thanksgiving tags or something like that, and then it'll give me the number. So now that I have that pulled up, oops, yeah, I just dropped a cup off my desk, but that's okay, it was empty. 34234. All right, this way I can put that image number on my video. Go back to the mat. Now, double click and it pulls everything up on your mat and it's all grouped together. Now I got to do a couple things here. I have to resize it. So I want to resize it as they're all together. I'm going to highlight it. What I call highlight, I don't know, I just, want to kind of highlight it. Yeah, that's what I'll call it. And I'm going to come over here for the open scale window. And I think my card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's a portrait card. So I'm going to drop these down to 3. And I'm just going to choose the height and do 3.0 and see what happens. And let's go to the width at 3.0. Yeah, maybe a little bit bigger on that. The width and the height went down to 1.95. So let's go ahead and do 3.5 on the width of it. And I'm going to move it up to kind of give it a measurement here. That's 3.5. So I'll take that. Okay. Now I've got 3 different colors of paper I'm using. So what I have to do is I have to ungroup these as they are all together as 3. And then I have to regroup them so that I can move the images together. And I'm speaking a totally different language to some of you. I'm so sorry. So I'm going to ungroup. And what that's going to do is I'm going to be able to pull these the tags separately. But I have to group each one. The ungroup didn't work, so hold on. Ungroup. Okay, now they're ungrouped. But I have to group each tag separately because see if I don't, it'll move around like that. And I don't want to do that. So pull this and then I'm going to right click and try that again because I didn't highlight it. And I'm going to group that and then I can move the entire image down here. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to come right over the image, right click, group that. I'm going to put that in the middle of my mat. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. Highlight it, right click, group it, and move it up. Now what I'm going to do on my mat is I'm going to put a strip across, a 12 by probably 2 of the different colors, and that's how I'm going to put it on the card. Alright, so I'm going to do that and cut it out, and then I'll meet you guys all over at the crafting table. Alright, so I went ahead and I made a card ahead of time, and we're going to go ahead and make one now, and I'm going to show you all how I did this. Now, I'm starting out with a basil cardstock, and I love this cardstock for cards. It's really thick and it's got some texture to it. And this is called brown cable. I'm also using a piece of 90-pound watercolor paper. So that's that. And I cut the card at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it's a portrait style. And then the watercolor paper is cut just at 5 1/4 by 4. Alright, so the first thing I did was I wet my watercolor paper, and I just took a old kitchen sponge with a little bit of water on it, Not too much because it starts to curl up, but that kind of helps when you're doing your image. I'm using this stamp from Craft Smart. Got this at either Joann's or Michael's, not sure. And I'm going to use some distress pens. Now this is kind of a cool technique. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can spray your stamp with a spray bottle like this, or if you don't have a spray bottle, again, you can just kind of dampen it with your sponge. Not wet it, but dampen it. Okay, and then the colors that I'm using are fall colors, and they are Gathered Twigs, Spiced Marmalade, Tea Dye, Vintage Photo, and Forest Moss, and then I throw in some purple or lavender or whatever color you want to call this, and it's Dusty Concord. So I'm going to go ahead and wet my stamp again. And how I'm doing it is I'm finding the thicker end, and I'm just going through randomly like this. And adding the colors here and there. You know, kind of like how a leaf is. And then I put some gold, and I think that's it for this one. And I'm going to put a little piece of foam underneath there and stamp it just like that. Now there's a couple things, maybe hold this up a little closer. Isn't that beautiful? There's one thing that you can do if you want to spread out the color is you can use your water pen. And I did that technique on this leaf right here. So you can see how I spread the color out into the actual leaf. Like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and speed up the film here and finish up doing the leaves, and then we'll come back. So I'm using the same technique throughout the whole inking process, where I make sure that the stamp is always moist or wet, and just putting random colors that I've chosen, no rhyme or reason at this point. And if you want your leaves a little lighter, you can stamp it once and then go back and stamp it again without re-inking it, and I'll do that here right at the very end. And it is almost done. I sure like the plum colored distress pen. I think it's so pretty, and I think I probably put it in every single one. Now on this card I didn't use the water pen at all. And I've never done this technique on just regular cardstock paper. I've always used watercolor paper. I just saw it done like this on YouTube, and that's how I continue doing it. So now here I'm going to do a little bit of distressing around the ink, around the edges. This is Tim Holtz Distress Tool, and there's a bunch of different kinds of distressing tools out there. I just happened to have bought this one a couple years ago. And I'm not doing it too much, but I want to do it enough that it doesn't lay flat on the card. And I'm going to use some Spiced Marmalade there. Just kind of do around the edges. You don't want to distress this layer first because it's harder to do your stamp images if the edges are all curled up and everything. And I used Tea Dye and Vintage Photo as well. This was kind of going in between the leaves. And then here I'm going to go ahead and just put glue kind of on the edges, but I want that distress part to kind of pop up off the card. And it takes the watercolor paper, excuse me, just a little bit more time to dry, so you want to kind of keep pushing that down. Those are the 3 that I made, and for some reason they turned out different lengths. I have no idea why. Operator error again. Now I'm going to go ahead and put black on behind each one of those, because the letters weren't popping out like I wanted them to, or they weren't as clear. I'm just going to use some foam tape here. I wanted them to sit up a little bit off the card. I had a really hard time with this particular paper that I used on the silhouette. It wouldn't cut for the life of me. I changed the speed, I changed the blade pressure, I made sure that it was the proper setting as far as the paper. I mean, I literally tried to cut this out 3 times. So I'm just using my tweezer here to get the leftover pieces that didn't cut clearly. And I'm going to fuss with it for a little bit here, but then just for the sake of continuing on with the video, I'm going to stop, and then once the card is all put together, I'll go back and pick out the rest of that paper. It had a little bit of texture to it, versus the green and the cream colored labels didn't have any, but I've cut textured paper before on the silhouette, so not really sure what happened. Yeah, I think by putting the black behind there, it really makes a difference. And then I just inked up the edges of that cream one. It's kind of looking plain to me. I love these little tags. So cute. And I didn't want to actually do like a shadow banner on any of these. I just wanted the black part to be for the lettering. Now I'm going to put a piece of white cardstock in the inside of the card, and I'm just inking up the edges here and there. I wanted to put something more on the inside than just the piece of white paper. And you could probably do the same technique on the front of the card, but it isn't as prominent. So there it is. Thanks all so much for watching.